So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's city council meeting. If you haven't already, as a reminder, would you please silence your cell phones? City of Anamosa City Council Agenda Regular Session, Monday, May 27th, 2025, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library and Learning Center, 1.0 roll call.
Trump.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Tukin. Here. Weimer.
Here.
Dan Smith.
Here.
Romper.
Here.
All 6 council members are present in chambers. 2.0 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some new guests in attendance this evening. So just as FYI, I will read through the agenda. If you're the presenter of that item, please come to the podium, state your name, address of residence, or your business with council. If you are not, I will ask after each agenda item, council's discussion, if there's any comment, at which time the public can come to the podium, state their name and address of residence, and inquire with the council. 3.0 consent agenda review and approve. There are 4 items listed. I will read all 4 items. Council can make a motion that includes consent, which will bring all 4 up for discussion, and a single motion to approve. Single motion and vote to approve, or council can identify each item individually. Item A, minutes from May 12, 2025, regular session. Item B, current bills. Item C, liquor licenses. Item D, noise street closure permit application.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Does your motion include consent?
I'm sorry, yes, move to approve consent agenda, yes.
Dan, you still second?
Yep.
Well, a motion by Todd, second by Dan. That includes consent. Council, feel free to discuss any or all of the items.
I have a question under the fund 600 water fund, the gate valve and boxes for $3,890. Steve, can you just tell me what those are for?
We used our last 8-inch gate valve and we needed to get some more.
Okay, so
And then it's just the valve box. It's just replenish inventory is all it was.
okay, thank you.
The other discussion or questions on the agenda items?
I do have one question based off of the memo for item D. Is that going to be a major conflict in any fashion if there's 2 events at the same time in the same area?
I can't, I guess I can't attest to one way or the other on that. I think the music, that should be playing outdoors at both was the concern. But one is a street closure for Main Street. The other is a street closure for Booth Street. So the street closure itself, and perhaps the chief would be better to address that, but I don't think it should be an issue. Again, I think the noise or the music was the only concern.
Okay.
What about, is there going to be a need for electric service for both events? And if so, do we have the capacity to have them on the same electric service, or is there going to be a issue with it? Because one of the events I think had some kids games, bounce houses, things like that. I don't know what the needs are for electric, but if we've got a band and jump or bounce houses and we've got a DJ at the other end, are we going to be able to keep the electric going so both events can have maximum benefit, I guess, for both parties?
Usage is uncertain, but as far as capacity, it shouldn't be an issue. So, for example, Pumpkin Fest or some of the larger events we do, they are all on that at the same time. So I don't think capacity wise, it should be an issue.
And the other issue I think Rich brought up, but where are each of the closures happening? Are we closing the end of Booth Street from Main Street to the south? Or to at least the alleyway, south of the alleyway, and on the other one, are we doing Main Street to Booth, or where are the closures gonna be?
Are they covering each other up?
Yeah, I think to some degree they may cover each other up. It goes from Booth Street to Huber and on Main Street, and then Booth Street, I believe just to the first alley or that vicinity anyways.
Lisa, it's Tucker's that's requesting this. I guess the question I would have is two forms of music entertainment going on at the same hours of the day.
I don't know what time theirs was.
Oh,
Mine is just basically a little DJ playing music on my patio out back. It's basically, the street closure is more for bike parking, because it's their support right.
people to congregate.
Yeah, I'm not trying to conflict.
No, well, that's
Okay.
kind of what I'm
Just trying to
leading
help
to.
with
Is there
bike
going to
parking.
be one or not?
So
You feel comfortable that
Yeah.
everybody will, in a sense, live in the evening and
Should.
harmonious?
Should.
Okay.
are the motorcycles gonna be parked in that part of the street then down to Main Street and the alley, or are they gonna be further to the
They
side?
may have to park on Main Street, they will have, I don't know how many bikes there's.
I just didn't know if there was a street dance portion or anything like that.
So if you're having a DJ, it's not gonna be quite as loud as
As a
having a
band,
band.
no.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Council, anything else? Any other questions or comments regarding this? Does the public have any comment? Haley, would you please conduct a roll vote?
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Same.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
John Burke,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Consent motion to approve carries with 5 favorable votes and 1 council member abstains. 4.0 public hearings. 4.1 public hearing. Accepting bids and awarding the contract in accordance with approved plans and specifications for the Ford and Huber sanitary sewer replacement project. Item A, mayor opens the public hearing. Proceedings for discussion. At this time, the public hearing is open. Public, you can come to the mic, state your name and your address and inquire with council. Should be on.
Hi, Mayor and City Council. My name is Justin Holland, and I live at 4812 Harvest Court in Cedar Rapids. I represent Shift General Contracting, and we want to talk about this project. I also represent Dalton Starn.
Justin?
Yep. Two.
I think your inquiry would better fall under the next agenda item. Where the bid accepting. This portion is just primarily for public's inquiry.
Okay.
About the project itself.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just wanted to not miss my turn.
No, I understand.
Thanks.
Howdy. Alicia Chambers, 214. I'm all of Huber Street. They would like to know what's going on. This has been 4 years of this. it just keeps getting worse and worse. We can't bring our cars up and down it. So a year ago, we were told it would be done by the end of this year. So the whole alley would like to know what's going on.
Well, everyone, my knowledge, has been contacted regarding this prior to this evening's public hearing.
None of us were contacted.
I believe everybody along that stretch received a letter that was a property owner or that had a portion that was being the right of way that the city needed in order to to proceed with this project. That was kind of a slow process to get everybody's on board, but I do believe that I can't remember. I think that I think somebody came last year and signed those documents on your behalf or for your property.
But we were given 2 years on those documents and we were getting 24 and 25 and so we just want to know what's going on.
Yep. So the project is proceeding as planned. The second letters or round of letters that went out. Well, let me take it back. The first round of letters that went out had an expiration date that had already passed. So we had to redraft those letters and send them out with new documents, new easement agreements. That was the second one that you received in 2024, to which we got the signatures on and just wrapped that up a few months ago. So.
Is there anything specific you're looking for regarding the
When it
project?
started, how long is it gonna take? I mean, we have a property owner that owns a group home.
Can you come back up, please?
We have a new property owner that owns a group home now in that alley. So, you know, she has to look at the safety of those individuals as well and transporting those individuals. I mean, the alley is literally falling apart. I mean, there are just holes everywhere.
Well, obviously, if there's gonna be construction on this alley, it would not serve well to make the repairs now and then bid let acceptance of it is a follow-up item. I don't have that paperwork in front of me to tell you when the start date is and when the sunset date is. I think you can understand why would we repair now if in 6 months it's gonna be tore back up.
Well, no, and that's fine. We're, like I said, we're all just wondering what is going on. We have heard nothing. 90% of us, our garages are in driveways are back there. So, you know, we were looking for an update. This has been a whole neighborhood thing where we, you know, sold our stuff to you guys and we were given 2 years and we're waiting. I got construction that's going to be happening this year too. And I don't want there to be any conflicting things as far as that goes or anything like that.
Yeah, didn't it take a little bit of time to get all of the easements back or the paperwork back from the various adjoining property owners? That's part of what's taken time to get to today.
Yeah.
And isn't the next item on the agenda after this discussion the acceptance of a bid so that the process can start?
That's correct. Yeah.
So can you maybe just give a brief of the project there in mind? Steve?
Yeah, we can let Haley do that with HR Green. She can probably provide some answers to those timetable
Yep.
questions.
Hi, everyone. I'm Haley Gendrich with HR Green. I'm managing this project. So I do have a update for you all and for you as well. So we had over 30 easements that the city had to acquire And we could not bid the project until every single easement was signed. So that is the reason that it took so long, is we had to do everything accordingly, and it was just difficult getting every homeowner to basically sign the papers. So that is officially done. We bid the project. That's what this public hearing is for, is to approve the plans and move forward. We should hopefully award the project tonight, and then we will issue a notice to proceed to start construction in 1 month. And the sewer replacement and paving should be done by December 31st of this year. That is the plan. And then final completion will be March 31st of 2026, and that'll be all of the final seating. So that's kind of the update there. Is there anything else you'd like me to address?
Is that information?
That is
Suffice.
helpful, yeah. Yeah, if I can let neighbors know where to go.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has public comment on this or during this public hearing? Item B, mayor closes the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. 4.2, resolution 2025-24. Accepting bids and awarding the contract for the Ford and Huber sanitary sewer project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, sorry, I jumped the gun. Mayor, City Council, my name's Justin Holland. I own Shift General Contracting. My address is 4812 Harvest Court in Cedar Rapids. I also represent Dalton Starn. These guys were not able to make it tonight for work purposes, but Dalton Starn is at 13610 Circle Drive in Anamosa. Nathan Decker, 17856 in Green Road in Anamosa. Ben Birds, 16918 Old Cass Road in Anamosa. And Dakota Starn, 13610 Circle Drive in Anamosa. I want to address the letter that was written to the council or to Jeremiah about the bids. And it's, I think, misrepresented. They did not reject our bid. They actually read it. They read all bids. They read ours first. They did not reject it for the addendum not being recognized. They read our bid total that they read. Was about $20,000 less than I'll give you the totals. I have some paperwork I can give you. So we'd like to discuss that, or I'd like to discuss that with the city council. And I've got some handouts and I don't know, can I just start passing these out? I think I can, if I, it's got a copy of it. So what I want to address here is an addendum number 1 that was issued and how that came to fruition from us. And basically, we were a contractor that was on a plan holders list from a plan holders house that we pay a subscription to have a fee. And plans go to them and they're updated online, and that's how we get our plans. We made a request to the city, to Jeremiah, to get those plans and specs on May 19th. It probably wasn't the right person to send it to, and we made a mistake, but we did request the official plans and specs, and those were never sent to us. We did not request them from HR Green, which we should have. We relied on our website, and that did not have the addendum, so we did not recognize the addendum. So what I'd like to show you, though, is the actual addendum. The addendum on the bid form. You have two bid forms in front of you. One is the original proposal that we submitted on, and the second one is the addendum proposal, which was the one that is the accepted version. I'd like to bring it to your attention that on top of the proposal, it does say that it's a unit price contract, and that all unit prices will be used to factor in the bid, not the total of the bids, but the unit prices and the quantity. Does talk about, you can read the highlighted comments that it talks about how you can use those unit prices to factor in your bids. The addendum came out on May 16th, and what the addendum did is revise the notice of public hearing to this building instead of a different building. Revised that notice to the bidders. It revised the proposal, and it revised the contract. The proposal that it revised redlined an item. So it crossed out one bid item, and it changed another item from 0.5 to 0.8. In total, this would have reduced our bid by $1,000. Our original bid was $647,198.55. Like I said, we were the low bidder. They read our bid. They opened our bid. They did not disqualify it. Plans and specifications use SUDAS as their technical specifications for this project. You can see the special provisions. Give you a copy of that. The first line of item highlighted talks about the using SUDAS. Second page that I highlighted also allows us to use a computer generated form. We don't have to use the form that they provided as long as we have all the bid items on it and their unit prices. We did that. We gave a unit price for every bid item. Like I said, the addendum only removed one bid item, making the quantity 0 instead of 1. And the other item changed it from 0.5 to 0.8. I'd also like you to remember that all these projects are unit price bids. We get paid based on the measured quantity, not the total amount. So all of these items are measured anyway. They're measured. You go on to the last page of that same specification, it talks about these quantities and how they're used and how they're measured and how they're given to create the pay item. We'll also then go on to Division 1 of SUDAS specifications that talks about those unit prices and how they're used and how they're paid. You can, I don't need to read this to all of you, but if you want to look at B, that such quantities are to be used for the purpose of comparison of bids and determining the amount of bid security, contract, performance, payment, and maintenance bond. In the event of discrepancies between the unit price extension or prices and unit price extensions listed in the bidder's proposal, unit prices shall govern and unit price extensions shall be corrected as necessary. So all they had to do was correct our unit or our total bid with our unit prices as they're required to do and should do. You look on the last page, the green highlighted portion, opening of the proposals. At the time and place set forth in the notice to bidder, proposals will be open and read aloud. Proposals will be rejected if not accompanied by a bid security submitted in a separate marked envelope. That was not the problem. Submittals that did not acknowledge of an addendum to the contract documents will be rejected, except in those incidents, in the opinion of the engineer, where the addendum not acknowledged by the bidder will have no effect on the bid amount. Bid openings will be open to the public. Once again, they opened our bid, they read it aloud, they did not reject it. They said right here that it would not affect their bid. It didn't. It actually lowered our bid $1,000. On the last page, as the jurisdiction, you reserve the right to accept proposals that in its judgment is the lowest responsible bid, and to waive irregularities and or technical deficiencies in the proposal to the extent allowed by law. We've addressed this with our attorney, and they can give you thousands of cases where addendums not acknowledged are waived as a technicality because it didn't affect the bid. It lowered our bid $1,000, nothing else. So in fact, our bid would have came in at $646,198.55. So I ask City Council why they're willing to pay $24,000, approximately $24,000 for a technicality that they have the complete ability to waive. I'll open that if anybody has any questions. If anybody wants any clarifications of these specifications. For what it's worth, I was on the SUDAS committee that helped write the specifications 20 years ago. So I'm pretty familiar with them.
You'll have an opportunity. Also, if you have any questions at this time, we can circle back with some do or eyes with HR Green's comments. Please.
Can I have the ability to speak after her if there's something that gets brought up?
If there's gonna be a question directed by HR Green, I will acknowledge your response. Thank you.
Okay. Hi again, Haley Gendrich with HR Green. I was the engineer there who opened the bids and read them. I did read all 6 bids and I announced at the end, basically implying nothing is final until we go back to the office and look through the paperwork. That's where you find omissions, irregularities, mistakes. So nothing is final. Just because it wasn't rejected there at the time does not mean that it cannot be rejected later. So everything, all the decisions and recommendations that HR Green is making is based on Chapter 26 of the Iowa Administrative Code for public bidding. So failure to acknowledge an addendum means that they are considered unresponsive and therefore should not be considered. It is correct that we can waive minor irregularities, but anything that changes quantities, whether it's increasing, decreasing, no matter the impact to the cost, if it's increasing or decreasing the contract cost, if we are changing quantities and materials, it is not considered minor and we cannot just waive that. So they failed to acknowledge the addendum and they are considered unresponsive. The lowest responsive bidder is still 40% below the engineer's opinion of cost, of construction cost. So yes, they are $25,000 higher than the unresponsive bid that we're rejecting. They're still significantly lower than what you guys budgeted for.
But we have the potential of saving $24,000. Is that what you're telling us?
You don't know that. So the argument was made that had they submitted the correct bid form and submitted the correct bid items, their bid would have come in lower. We don't know that. You can't prove that because they submitted an incorrect proposal form that did not match. 5 bidders submitted the correct proposal form with the correct number of bid items. They submitted an incorrect bid form. Legally, that is means for rejection and considered unresponsive legally per chapter 26.
So what happens if we were to make an exception and accept a bid at $25,000 or $26,000 less, and the project gets started and it doesn't come in at that price? We've made the decision based on faulty information, is that correct?
Well, and I will say at the next meeting, you're going to have the next contractor that we recommended, they'll be coming here making an argument why it was unlawful to do that. So,
That is just a hypothetical.
right, and it's a very good point.
If we accept the bid that is recommended, though, what is the confidence of the engineering that the bid price is going to be accurate in that case, in that instance?
I mean, it's based on quantities, so it's not going to increase unless we are way off on quantities, which every single contract would have increased then.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Haley, so you, HR Green has made a recommendation to the council on the contract of the building. You, as of now, you still stand behind that recommendation to council.
Yes, we are doing it per code, per law. That is our recommendation.
Justin, would you like to respond?
Yeah, so
Please come up. We are on somewhat of a timeline.
I'll do my best. We're not. She brings up a law that we're not, we don't bid by that. Doesn't exist in our bidding world. We're entitled to suit us. That's what the contract documents say. That's what her contract documents say. All of those documents that I've given to you, that suit us. Nothing about nothing about these bidding laws that she's talking about. We are entitled to use suit us. That's what we're directed to use. Those are the specifications for contractors to use to bid projects, to build projects, and for cities to get what they pay for. It's what we use. It's what we use every day. I made a simple mistake and didn't requested the contract information from the city administrator instead of the city engineer. And I didn't get a response. If I would have got a response, you would have had a bid from us that was $1,000 lower. She says that it was a different bid item. You have the bid forms in front of you. Both bid forms have 65 bid items. They didn't change the bid form. They changed two quantities, 1 to 0, 1 to 0.8. You're supposed to use the unit prices to calculate the bids. We made an error in our total. That's it. We are allowed to use a computer generated bid form. It says it right in the specifications. It allows us to use a computer generated bid form. We used their bid form. It just so happened that it was the other bid form. And if you look at page 3, they didn't give you a new bid form. They crossed off a bid item. There was no new bid form. So all you have to do is take our bid and our unit prices, which you're supposed to do, which the engineer is supposed to do. They're supposed to use our unit prices, not our total. And if they would have used our unit prices, she's wrong. They're allowed to, you're allowed to. It says in the specifications that you are allowed to increase or decrease our units, the quantities. It gets measured. So the fact that they took their seeding quantity, and that's what it was, the seeding, they changed it from 0.5 acres to 0.8 acres. When we would have done that work, or when we do that work, it gets measured anyway. The measurement could be 0.3 acres. It could be 1.2 acres. It could be 0.8 acres. It could be the original 0.5. Nobody knows. That's why you use the unit price to calculate your bids. So I can't stress it enough. we would have came in $646,000. Almost $25,000 less. Also want to just reiterate, Shift General Contracting owner, I am one of them, and Dalton Starn, who is a resident of Anamosa, is the other one. They're taxpayers in this community. I think that they would appreciate probably working for their paycheck, working in their hometown, get to represent their whole hometown. The city hires us to do water work. We've been paid multiple times to work, to do work for them. We're in this community. We work here, our owners here, we donate to funds. I don't think that we should be rejected because I didn't check a box on a bid form. That once again would have resulted in savings to you if the engineer would just calculate the bids correctly, which they're not doing for you. Any questions?
So fair to you. Thanks, Justin.
Jeremiah, I'm assuming the city attorney has looked all of this over.
Yes.
And what was his response?
The city attorney advised that the city should not make a special exception in this case, and the engineer on the matter to reject the bid should stand.
Any questions, comments?
And I would also like to say that the city attorney is also given information from the engineer. It's not given this information. It's presented. And we did consult an attorney. And they feel very much justice in their argument. So not probably just we want to see this has happened before. We've made thousands and thousands of cases for addendums. This is
Also, anything further? We have a motion by Kay, second by Todd, to accept the bids and award the contract based on HR Green's recommendation. Is that correct, Kay?
Correct.
Todd, is that the way you second the motion?
Correct.
Also, anything further? Haley, please conduct a roll vote.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
No.
Bamber,
No.
Crump,
Yes.
Baseman,
Yes.
Motions to accept the bid by the recommendation of HR Green carries. 4 in favor, 2 opposed. 4.3, public hearing on proposal to enter into sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement. Item A, mayor opens a public hearing proceedings for discussion. At this time, the public hearing is open. Item B, the mayor closes the public hearing. Public hearing is closed at this time. 4.4, resolution 2025-25. Resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into a sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement.
Move to approve resolution 2025-25.
I'll second.
Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion. Public comment. Haley?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Baseman,
Yes.
Tukin. Yes.
Motion to enter into proposal agreement carries. 4.5, public hearing. Vacation and conveyance of city right-of-way located adjacent to the west of 105 West Fifth Street. Item A, mayor opens public hearing proceedings for discussion. Public hearing is now open. If there's any public comment, please come to the podium.
My name is Ann McCray. I'm an attorney at Nazette Martin Nathanson Knoll in Cedar Rapids. Our address is 615 Second Street Southwest. I represent Janet Wessels, who owns the adjacent property, and her conservator, Tammy Moore. A conservator is similar to a power of attorney. They stand in the shoes of someone who can't represent themselves. I just would like to speak, depending on the comments of the council, there may be nothing that I need to add. So I didn't know if it was worthwhile. Depending how things go, there may be nothing for me to add. But I'm here for questions or comments if necessary.
Council will likely raise those questions at the time of the next agenda item. Just follow. Anybody else that has public inquiry comment? Item B, mayor closes the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Resolution 2025-26, approving the proposed vacation and conveyance of city right-of-way located adjacent to the west of 105 West Fifth Street.
I'll move to approve resolution 2025-26.
I'll second.
Motion by Todd, second by Rich. Council, do you have discussion, questions on this action item? Do you have any further comments? Public, anything? Kaylee, please conduct a roll vote.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yes.
Tukin, Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve vacation and conveyance of city right-of-way carried unanimously. 0.7, public hearing, fiscal year 25 budget amendment. Item A, mayor opens a public hearing proceedings for discussion. This time, the public hearing is open. Public has any questions, comments, or inquiries on the budget, please come to the podium. Item B, mayor closes the public hearing. This time the public hearing is now closed. 4.8, resolution 2025-27, adopting the annual budget amendment for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Move to approve resolution 2025-27.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion?
It's just basically approves the disbursement for the purchase of the new fire truck, correct?
That's correct.
It's already a budgeted for item. We're just paying for it.
That's correct. $436,326 for the fire truck that was received.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public comment? Haley, please conduct a roll vote.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yes.
Tukin, Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Motion to approve the budget amendment carries. 5.0 proclamations, none. 6.0 postpone items, unfinished business. 6.1 resolution 2025-28, setting the date for a joint city-county meeting to discuss the Dillon Military Bridge.
After the last city council meeting, I did attend a Jones County Supervisors meeting. It was very brief. There wasn't a lot of discussion or comments, questions. However, I did, at the council's request, ask if we could schedule a joint meeting They asked if we could possibly throw out a tentative date right at that time and suggested June 9th at 5:30 PM, right before our next regular scheduled council meeting. So this is just a resolution setting that if the council is agreeable to that.
This half an hour gonna be enough.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about that. We may need to delay the regular council meeting a bit or propose a different date.
What is? So this is gonna be an opportunity for anyone in the public that wants to come and speak, city or county, correct?
That's correct.
So what's our publication and notice? Because I want to make sure that everybody in the city and the surrounding area knows that's their time to come in and weigh in on this project. And we've had other projects in the past where people have said, we didn't know anything about what was going on. I want to make it clear this is that meeting or this particular project that they've got an opinion, that's the meeting to show up, correct?
Yes, if we can publish it through our normal means. And I should say as well, the Jones County Supervisors have also requested the same. Their intentions on this, I believe, are the same. Not to put words in their mouth, but that was specifically requested by them as well. And I could potentially get a hold of the Journal Eureka and possibly have them help us out with getting the word out.
It just seems to me that this particular bridge to wherever, stairway to heaven, whatever we want to call it, it's time for a decision of some sort to be made. We've been kicking the can for as long as I've been on the council. And I don't want to get to the June 9th meeting and at the end of it, we make a decision and 2 weeks later, we've got people from the community coming and saying, we didn't have an opportunity to speak. To be clear, June 9th is that opportunity. And it needs to get in the paper. It needs to be put out, whatever social media we have, because time is ticking on that project. A decision has to be made on what we're going to be willing to spend, if anything. And it has to be done. I'm sorry, but this is a hill that I will die on if I have to. A decision has to be made. And it needs to be on its way. The train needs to be leaving the station June 9th because the end of the year is coming. The end of any whatever agreement or not agreement that we have is coming. And my concern right now is the citizens of Anamosa are going to have an expense if that bridge falls into the river, if it doesn't get anything done. I'm sounding the alarm. And I don't care that it sounds like Chicken Little with his head cut off. I'm tired of this issue coming up and us not being able to tell our engineering company or whoever, this is the direction we're going to go. We have options on the table. It has to be decided. It's time to stop kicking the can.
We're gonna need more than half an hour, I tell you that.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I think we
That-
need to go to a different day.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
that
but night-
whatever meeting we have, that's the time for the public to show up.
Right, but that's why I'm saying, I think, like Brooke, we need to go a different night. So that's the only agenda item. That's the only time if there's 50 people here, they have a chance. By trying to cram that into a half hour, not gonna happen.
No way. And I would like to see it in the paper also. For sure, like separately. Absolutely.
I'm Laura. I'm from the Anamosa Journal Eureka. I'm glad you all agree because there will be an article in next week about a joint meeting that will be coming. I have attended the council meeting and the board meeting over the last 2 weeks. There was a joint article that was going to be in the paper this week about talking about a joint meeting. I had used the June 9th date due to what the supervisors had suggested, but I said that it was attentively. Now, we are currently have our paper already printed for this week, but if you decide something tonight, I could have something in the paper in June 5th. So I could have that on our paper side. I can share it on Facebook, whatever works best for you. I agree with you. The public should be aware of what's going on. And I want to do my best to accommodate that.
Can I make a suggestion?
Mhm.
Could you put a little article in about the history of that bridge?
Yes, we can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, and we have other avenues of publicizing it. We've got a sign out here that we can utilize. You know, webpage, Facebook. We've got other avenues.
There's a sign at the LCC that we could
Well, here's
perhaps
a-
use.
Here's a novel idea. We could, I guess I want to strike while the iron's hot, and June 9th seems to be the night that works currently. Why could we not, unless there's something that absolutely has to occur for regular city council business, why could we not move the city council meeting, the normal city council meeting to a different time instead of this? Because my concern is that if we don't have that date, which everybody's already tentatively said works, we're gonna be waiting, we won't have a meeting before June 9th, and at that meeting, we'll have to decide when are we gonna have another meeting. I would much rather have the special meeting on June 9th and plan on it from 5:30 to however long it takes. I'd much rather move a regular city council meeting. That's just my 2 cents.
We can certainly do that. While it is somewhat of a formality, most of our meetings are set by resolution, so
I'll be happy to make a motion if I need to.
I was gonna say a possible option would be we could amend this resolution to be a resolution to change the date or time of the regular meeting. If you would like, I can do that. We can get a different resolution or amend the resolution title to be a change in the date of the regular meeting or the time if we want to just bump the regular meeting back. I guess based on some of what I'm hearing, we're thinking it may last even longer, and so I would hate to put an end point on this meeting.
And I may be the lone voice in the wilderness on this one, but I'm getting pretty tired of bring this up, have a meeting on this Dillon Bridge. And we seem to get to a point where, yep, we have the information, and then the information is, well, we can't move forward with any decision until we decide this is the route we're gonna go. And in order to do that, we need the public input, which I fully support, having the public come in and tell me what they're willing to have us agree to spend money on or not spend money on. But and I'm not begging for more meetings. None of us need more meetings in our life, but June 9th was a meeting date that seemed to work for both committees, councils, whatever entities we want to establish. Someone else can jump in and tell me I'm wrong, but it seems to me that that's a date that seemed to work for every agenda. And again, if it takes a motion to change the resolution that created the June 9th as a regular meeting, I will happily make the motion that we move that meeting, and whatever it takes to resolve that, I'll get that, I'll put that in a motion. But I'm tired of seeing the Dillon Bridge project on our agenda and nothing being done. I've been on the council now for 18 months. And it was going on before I got on the council. Something has to happen.
And we pay fees every month. Are you making a motion?
I'm waiting for other people to talk.
Well, I have no problem moving our regular meeting. But if we're going to move it, then I would move it to Tuesday night, June 10th.
I'm happy to I want to accommodate whatever we need to do to get this thing going. forward.
Right, and I agree with you, because it has drug on long enough. And it's not fixing itself.
Nope.
We gotta get something done.
And we have to figure out what the commitment is. And by that, I mean, we have to have commitment from the supervisors to whatever they're gonna commit to, but they have a constituency that includes the people of Anamosa as well as the county at large. My constituency for this seat is the citizens of Anamosa. And we are talking about a multi-million-dollar project on this bridge, no matter how we cut it. And so I want the opportunity for anybody in the public to come in and say, do this, we know it's going to cost us X. Or don't do this, we're not willing to pay X. That will give me an opportunity, as well as anyone else on this council, the opportunity to hear all sides. What I don't want to continue to have is, well, so-and-so out here said this, and so-and-so out here said this. Get it here to the public meeting for all of us to hear all from the same source. And so I will happily make a motion to do the special meeting on June 9th, starting at 5:30, because that's the time that we already have had as a discussion, and we've got articles being written, we've got people committed to that time. And as a second motion, I would make the motion, I'm in agreement with Rich, let's have 2 meetings in a row, be done with it, June 9th, June 10th.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can I have the motion? I think the motion has to have where the location is. Unfortunately, on Tuesday nights, we have story time. So I just ask that you make the motion that the meeting be moved to the 11th at City Council chambers. So then that way it's official.
The 10th.
10, yes,
Yes.
I'm sorry. And the 9th is open. It's all good to go.
I'll
So,
restate my motion.
thank you.
Let's not enter into a motion yet. I have questions. I'm not gonna say I have heartburn, but I want to make sure we step forward legally. Jeremiah, if we are going to move the council date to any date other than the 9th, we have it already set in resolution, and you are amending, changing a resolution that is not an identified action item on tonight's agenda. Now maybe you can navigate it under the fact that it would qualify with 6.1. Don't know if I would be in agreement with that. I'm just saying, I don't know if that would be lawful, legal, whatever, to change your council meeting when there's not an agenda item statements.
What about just changing the time? You have the same feeling about just changing the time?
That could be a possibility, Kate, but I would agree with consensus. I think the joint meeting is going to be an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Well, I can
It's
stay
gonna
up
be a
past
pretty
9.
detailed-
Just say
It
it.
should be an in-depth informational meeting at a minimum.
Right, and if you're going to say you can't change the meeting to June 10th, I'm not sure you can have a resolution changing the time then,
I don't know.
because to me, you're doing the exact same thing.
Now,
How much notice do we have to give for public notice to change a resolution?
Well, you don't have to give any notice. You have to give 24 hours notice of a public meeting. So I guess what I'm saying is, again, it is our practice to set meetings by resolution. That has been, I think, pretty consistent for a long time. And so therefore, if they're set by resolution, the only way to either void or change that is by a resolution. I guess my only suggestion would be if there was a motion to approve this resolution, which would set the meeting for the 9th. at 5:30 PM still here. I do believe we would be on solid ground if we added the amendment to it of furthermore. And I just jotted this down. It changed the date of the regular council meeting on June 9th at 6 PM, 2025 to June 10th, 6 PM at the City Hall Council Chambers. So it would be an addition to this resolution stating furthermore, we're changing the date of the regular meeting.
Would it make any difference if we? And I'll take the slings and arrows, but would it be more appropriate to ask for a meeting tomorrow night for the sole purpose of moving the June 9th meeting to June 10th?
I think we probably wouldn't fall within the 24 hours.
Yeah,
You'd have to go to
The
Thursday.
Thursday night.
if,
If you believe that that would be navigating within the open meetings law, I trust you, because I don't know. I just have this uneasy feeling that it doesn't.
we can't venture far away from the original purpose of the agenda item. The agenda item is to schedule a meeting that's going to potentially conflict with the current meeting. So I think we have two options. If we wanted to be certain, we could contact the attorney, or we will just wait until the June 9th meeting. We can schedule the next meeting the next week or in 2 days. We could have it, as long as it's 24 hours, we could schedule or approve a resolution on June 9th to have it on Wednesday, the 11th. Or
So you would need to publicize that 24 hours in advance for that agenda.
yes, yeah.
But could we not accomplish the same thing by setting a meeting for this Thursday night to just change it to June 10th?
Either way.
That would eliminate any concerns about 24-hour notice and
You can do that next Monday.
move to have a meeting next Monday night for the sole.
So changing the following. But again, you believe the motion have to pass here. But still qualify as, not in violation of open meetings law. And not gonna canvass the council, but if you feel comfortable that same, then go ahead tonight and make the motion for the 2 meetings. One for the joint, and then one to change the regular council meeting on the 9th to the 10th. Not gonna canvass you, but if nobody says anything, would lead somebody to believe that they could go ahead and make that motion.
All right, after you bring this up, I am with you on that kind of a leaning on my thought process. That we should have a separate agenda item. It should be publicized. And we should go that route.
I believe that.
That way we know we fall within.
Yeah,
Right, and
better be
that
safe than sorry.
meeting, that meeting could last all of 3 minutes.
Well, then I'm back to let's get that done this week. So
I have to retract my statement, I guess, because now thinking through this, if we're going by that logic, we will have to have an agenda item to set the meeting that we're going to set the next meeting at. Which means I have to approve a resolution to approve the next meeting. So we would have to, well, we can't meet Thursday without a resolution saying we're gonna meet Thursday.
Well, you can have a special meeting. We've had special meetings without resolutions.
and then
You can have any meeting without a resolution.
Right, so we could have a special meeting to set the meeting of June 10th.
And 5 months.
And for, if you need a resolution for that. But Thursday night could be a special meeting for that sole purpose. Because,
But we don't have a resolution tonight on tonight's agenda to set a meeting on Thursday.
Right, but we have in the past had meetings that have been called 48 hours in advance without resolution calling for that meeting.
And that's what I would like to do, because I think the meeting can take it'll take me longer to park my car to come in and say, let's have the regular meeting on June 10th. But I'd like to do it.
I
this
think either are legally permissible. I guess I would just point out that it would not be any different than if we just schedule, if we amend this to state that there's an additional meeting on that Monday. If we don't need legally a resolution to set a meeting, we don't need one to set a meeting for Thursday, nor do we need one to change that meeting from that Monday.
Well,
I would
how
agree.
about this?
Stay consistent.
How about this? How about if we make the motion to adjust the date to June 10th in this resolution with the provision that the city attorney reviews to see if it's admissible, if it's approved by him, then we can continue that way. If he does not approve it, then we hold a special meeting to set the date to June 10th. Would that work?
I can, yes.
Let's make sure we're.
I don't want to have
precise on the motion.
I don't want to have an illegal meeting, but I don't want to give up for having joint. I can understand that has to happen.
I'm gonna prefer we hold off on a motion just yet. Council, do you have any more discussion on this?
So we're still planning a June 9th meeting with the new council and supervisors.
Yes.
And subject to attorney approval, a special meeting on the 10th to take the place of the 9th.
I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we have the June 9th joint session of the Anamosa City Council and Jones County Supervisors at 5:30 at the Anamosa Learning and Library Center. And at that point, determine whether a special session will be held for the regular June 9th council meeting to be moved to June 10th at the Anamosa City Council Chambers at 6 p.m.
Provided the
Provided
attorney
subject to,
to the attorney's approval.
Yeah.
Subject to all of that.
And I will second that.
Motion by Todd, second by Rich. Council, anything? Public comment.
I'm trying to make this quick. Tom Durgan, downtown property owner. I completely agree with Todd over here, and it would be nice to get this done and over with. He's frustrated. He's got 18 months into this. I'm really frustrated. I think I've done a pretty good job of hiding my frustration. I've got, I don't know now, years in this. I got loads of time in, under, and above that bridge, in, under, and below the water and the dam and everything else. I don't know how much time that we have left on this contract or the agreement with the county, but I've said all along, time is of the essence for this. So believe me, Todd, when you say you're frustrated, I know exactly where you're coming from, because something has got to be done. And I've said all along too, if that bridge goes in there and takes that dam out, then we got real problems. Thank you.
Steve Agnes, Utility Superintendent. Not to throw you a curveball, but I looked this up. And it says an Iowa council meeting, if you make a motion to amend the resolution, it can change the meaning or the wording or the meaning of the resolution. So according to what I read, and I know some of you guys know that I've been on council for a while in Wyoming, it looks to me like you could just amend the original resolution that you had to do what you want to do. So that's,
So in a sense, the motion would be in compliance.
it would be in compliance if you wanted to go back to that.
Think you can stand, we'll get confirmation if this motion passes, then we should be good. Kaylee, would you please conduct a roll vote on the motion?
Eastman,
Yes.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Trump,
Yes,
Motion on the joint meeting with county and amending of the next city council meeting in lieu of city attorney approval carries. I do want to, before I move on, I do want to state that it is not as if the council prior to Todd and Dan being on has done nothing regarding this. It has been slow roll. I will agree with that. It's not a minor undertaking. This is a fast project. You want to make sure you have solid footing under you as you move forward with a project of this nature. So again, let's see, it's not like the council hasn't given attention to this. They just wanted to make sure it was done in the right way.
well, and in addition to that, Rod, the original engineer on this project is no
No
more.
longer, yes.
So we had to change engineers on the project in addition.
And I don't want to imply that, that it hasn't been done. I'm just saying we're at a point where something has to go forward. I'm not casting aspersions on other.
And I didn't take it that way, Todd. I just wanted that stated publicly. Now, 7.0 council action item 7.1 presentation cultivate Anamosa Aaron's on ball. Please still back there. Before Aaron introduces himself, goes on. I was made aware that the Cultivate Anamosa team commission had reached their first milestone. And we had reached out to Lisa McClellan at that time to come before the council as, you know, their whole vision is a collaborative effort between their team, the city, the school, and other enterprises within the community. So I asked Aaron to come before for informational, where they're at, where their vision, what their plan is. Aaron, will be yours.
All right, thank you. Aaron Zumba, 712 Caitlin Avenue here in Anamosa, and I'll try to keep this as uncomplicated as I possibly can. It's been an interesting night listening to city council. I'll also try to keep it brief. I will say one thing. Thank you for your time and what you do. I've been asked to be on city council. Emphatically, I've denied it many times. So trust me, it takes a village, and we appreciate it. I'm sure it's rewarding, and sometimes it can be a little complicated. I can see that. So I'm going to pass each one of you out, each one of these. It's Cultivate Anamosa. This is a brochure that we had put together in conjunction with the Greater Foundation of Review. So it handles our endowment fund. Jeremiah is aware of it. He's been at some of our work sessions, our committee meetings. I've got a number.
Oh, thanks.
I didn't realize I was on it. So, or lucky. But anyway, yeah, as Rod said, I want to just, I look at this as an opportunity to educate and talk to you about the collaboration that we see as a group in the future. Briefly, I want to talk about where the foundation came from, what they've done, where we're at today, and what we see as a vision in the future. So 21 years ago, there's several people that had a vision for Anamosa to start an endowment fund. I think it's been kind of a well-kept secret because they haven't been real aggressive in trying to get out and grow, et cetera. But they've done a lot of good things for the community. And some of these people are no longer with us. I think you'll recognize some of these names. Frank and Joyce Deitmeyer, Varlin and Jane Fink, Robert and Charlene George, John and Cecilia Hatcher, Vic and Mary Jo Hamry, Joe and Esther Legg, Matt and Beth McQuillan, and Gary and Joanne Weirs were the founders of the Anamosa Community Foundation. They each invested $5,000 at the time, put it into an endowment fund, and started spending the earnings and raising some funds in the community slowly over the last 21 years. Over those 21 years, they've grown that endowment fund to about $250,000. So you can see that it's a nice start. But there's been some changes here as of recent. Some of the things that the original foundation did since that time that I think are critical to the community. We've helped the fire department buy Jaws of Life. We bought cardio equipment for the Jones Regional Hospital, AC and new heating in the Starlighters Theater, handicapped accessible sidewalk down at Wapsiana Park. We put new basketball hoops up, well, in conjunction with the LCC. We funded them. They did all the work. We had the easy part at the Wapsiana Park. New freezers for the Jones County Food Pantry. I mean, things that, things in a community that it takes, they say it takes a village. Limited budgets. Each year we go through a grant letting session and we accept applications, and then we meet as a group and we decide where we're going with that. There's 2 pages of things that they've done, but that just gives you an idea. So here we are today. About a year ago, we were notified, and actually the board has changed a little bit. Deb and I came on the board 3 years ago. I'm in my 60s and I'm a youngster on the board. So that tells you a little bit about where we're at. But recently, we were notified that there was an individual in Northeast Iowa who was giving matching endowments, encouraging communities to grow their foundations. And if we have 3 thresholds that we needed to achieve. There's 9 communities that participated. You had to submit an application to the state to be accepted as a community that qualified for this. Anamosa is one of 9. Maquoketa is one. Manchester, Monticello. Actually, Monticello has been added a little longer than we have, and we have exceeded where Monticello is. So hats off to the community of Anamosa. But to give you an idea, the Cultivate Anamosa is a event or a drive that operates under the umbrella of the Anamosa Community Foundation. We're one organization. Cultivate Anamosa fits in with us and with our goal session of what we want to accomplish. With Cultivate Anamosa, we brought in about 15 new board members, younger people, kind of expanding our footprint, so to speak, in the community. Everybody has contacts that they utilize, and it's been real successful. Our first goal was to raise $150,000. If we got to that goal, or when we got to that goal, the donor put a matching $25,000 into our endowment and gave us $15,000 for our first grant project. Well, we gained traction and we raised that first $150,000 in about 2.5 months. So there's a can-do attitude there. $25,000 was added to our endowment. So we have $175,000 in the endowment under Cultivate Anamosa. Couple that with the $250,000 that we already have in an endowment, we're at $375,000. Since that time, we've raised $172,000 without the matching grants. Our second goal is to raise an additional $112,000. Once we get to that point, we get an additional $25,000 grant from the donor and another $15,000 contribution to our endowment, and another $15,000 for a grant project. And then there's the third one, which is another $112,000. And this one got just a little bit better here as of late. When we reach that goal, another $25,000 from the donor, and the Jones County Endowment Committee is going to give us an additional $25,000. So we'd have $50,000 in the endowment. So if we didn't move on anywhere from where we are today, we've got with the matching grant, we've got about $400,000 between the original endowment fund and the Cultivate Anamosa fund that can go to work with us. I think, as you know, an endowment, you do not touch the money that's invested. We use the Greater Foundation of Dubuque. They invest our funds for us. We use them because they have the infrastructure, they have the people in place. We don't have brick and mortar. They're a 501c established already. So we do keep our funds somewhat conservative. I mean, obviously we could take risk with these, and there's opportunities to make 14-15% on an investment, but there's opportunities to lose that. So over the years, our annual return on investment has been around that 6 to 8%, depending on what the market does. So you can do the math. Right now, we're at about $400,000. And this is where the collaboration comes in. Each year now, we're going to have about $32,000 as we sit today to invest in our community through various grants or projects that we identify, or maybe the city identifies. I know one of the things that's on the horizon is the new swimming pool. I've caught wind that there's going to be a bond for that coming up in the next 2 or 3 years once we get this Dillon Bridge thing put to rest. But best of luck with that, everybody. But, you know, we obviously can't build a pool, but maybe we can help equip the new facility. Maybe we can buy the locker facilities, things on that order. There's a lot of good things that are going on in Anamosa right now. Our first $15,000 that we got when we reached our first goal, we collaborated with the school. They are building a trail that's connecting the campus, and we put that $15,000 towards a section of that trail where we'll have a bench there, you know, the Anamosa Community Foundation trail. And kudos to the city here. I know you guys are working on a trail project as well. That's going to be exciting to see that done. That's going to be great for recreation. It's going to bring people to town between the campus connection all the way up to Remley Woods, out to what was put on phase 1 and 2, which our original endowment invested in that trail project as well. I think they said we'll have around 8 miles of trails that connect. I mean, very few communities have that. Decorah has a beautiful trail system. If you've never been, I would advise that you go walk, ride a bike. It's a 12-mile trail up and down. About killed me. I found out that I'm in my 60s. I don't ride a bike like I used to, but it was a great location. So that's where we're at today. It's easy to get complacent in these things. We can be as strong as we want to, or as strong as our membership wants us to be, because it does take a concerted effort to get out and make these connections. I have several businesses that I've talked to that are going to commit to it. So I really don't see us, I don't see a roadblock for us getting through level 2. And I see that happening in the relative near future, which would take us up to about $450,000 in our endowment. You know, take 450,000 times 5% or 8%. And, you know, we have some money that we can work with. My final comment on this, you know, we talk about, Rod said, you know, here we are, where do we want to be? Well, we've talked about some visions that we have for the community. And I think you guys would agree. I mean, the budgets are tight. I get that. It's not an easy job what you do to monitor the city's business. As a matter of fact, it's very difficult, but thank you for doing that. We host Ragbri. We hosted a tournament last week in Chelsea's Dream Foundation. I could talk about that at length too. What a wonderful organization that is, but I won't there. A lot of compliments were made on how it was organized, on the athletic facilities that we have and the ability to host these types of things. But there were also comments made that, boy, it'd be nice if we had, and I know you guys have heard this before, but potable water sources, a restroom facility with down where like our pickleball courts are, where the softball courts are, out here in the Strawberry Hill location. I know you can't do everything all at once, but if that project ever got off the ground, and we've got a group that's trying to gain traction with it too, that maybe we'll be back talking to city council again at some point in time where we could bring even more to the table, but we would certainly love to collaborate and be a member with the city to just continue Anamosa on the path that it's taken and the path that it's going. We've got a lot of good people doing a lot of good things in this community, and it takes volunteers like yourself. Well, maybe the pay is really good on city council. I don't know. But I'm thinking it takes volunteers like yourself to make this city run as efficiently as it does. I moved here 32 years ago. Anamosa has been good to me. I can't wait to see what the next 32 years does for the community. I've seen a lot of changes at the bank, and we've got a lot of opportunity, and we're just on the verge of seeing some big changes moving forward. So we hope that the foundation can be a part of that. I thank you for your time and wish you all the very best. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
And I've enjoyed this enough. I think I'm going to sit till the end of the meeting.
Interesting.
And just,
Yeah.
no, I just wanted to say, well, the city to your team, let's keep those communication lines open. You have an idea, if it falls within the city, get with Jeremiah or someone, so that way we can all brainstorm how to bring it to fruition.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Rod, thank you. You were my segue here to get on the agenda, and thanks for making time. And I looked at it as an opportunity to share our mission as well. So thank you. Thanks.
7.2, resolution 2025-29, approving the appointment of David Gregory to the Library Board of Trustees to fill the term ending June 30th, 2028.
Move to
approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion? Public comment?
Just saying, guys, if you know anybody else, we have 2 more positions coming up next month. So go ahead, send them my way. If you know anyone, peer pressure, it's totally fine. So we have got this one, but we need 2 more.
Haley, would you call the roll vote?
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Motion to approve appointment carries. 7.3, resolution 2025-30, supporting the submission of an Iowa Economic Development Authority, IEDA, application to the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program by Forge Inc.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion? Public comment? Kaylee?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Tukin, yes.
Motion to approve, submission carries. 7.4, discussion and possible action. Hearing to appeal the designation and removal of a dangerous, vicious, aggressive animal, Aubrey Watkins, Renee Vargas.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Aubrey Watkins. I reside at 105 South Dubuque Street in Anamosa. I'm speaking before you today on behalf of my dog, Ember, who recently had a bite incident. She came into my care in October of 2019 when she was approximately 1 year old. She was rescued from a puppy mill where she was beaten and abused almost an entire year of her life. She was rescued from the puppy mill. She went to another family, not quite to me just yet, where she continued to be beaten and abused. She spent the entire first year of her life being abused. The family who had her after she came from the puppy mill had her for only a few months before they decided they didn't want her anymore. I stepped up and offered to take her. Their solution was to take her to the pound. She presumably would have been put down. She had self-protective behavior, assumably from the abuse that she had encountered. Her behavior when she came into my care was concurrent with her previous treatment and understandable given the circumstances from which she had come. Anxiety was evident, as well as no prior training, but never ever aggression or violence. She was naughty. She was naughty. She was a bad dog when we got her. She chewed things up within my home. It looked like a tornado had run through there. Nothing she did at the time was appreciated, but all was understood, considering her previous treatment. We worked with her for months. Myself, as well as the rest of my family, worked with her for months to correct her behavior. We rewarded the good behavior and disciplined the bad. We showed her love and patience, and she showed us loyalty and companionship. She became our family, and we became hers. Despite her previous struggles, she was and is the sweetest, most loving animal I have ever met. She grew to love everyone she came in contact with, young or old. She didn't and still doesn't care who you are, as long as she gets affection. In the 7 years that I've had her, she has never, ever been an aggressive or violent animal towards myself, my family, or any stranger she's come in contact with. On May 9th, Ember was outside on an outdoor leash with my mom while she was doing yard work. This was not an uncommon occurrence. Ember was barking, which was as well not uncommon. I'm sorry. The bite victim was walking down my street, and my mom had her back turned, as barking from Ember was not uncommon. She heard the victim yelling and then turned around to see that Ember had gotten out of the yard, and then to see as well that the victim was actively kicking, swatting, pushing Ember away from him. My mom ran quickly and regained control of Ember. She asked the victim if he was okay and asked if Ember had bitten him. He replied that yes, he was fine. And yes, Ember had bitten him. To which my mom had responded, may I see like where she bit you? Would that be okay? He refused. He said he was okay. He also refused any information from my mom, her name and her phone number, nothing. He didn't want it. And he continued to walk home. He returned to my home 30 minutes later with his wife and stated that he was going to the hospital and to file a police report. We asked again to see where Ember had bitten him, which he once again refused to do. A few hours later, an officer came to my home to address the situation with my mom and I. He stated that he was declaring Ember a vicious animal, and I was told that we had 3 days to remove her from city limits. Nothing further was given to us, just we could file an appeal, which I did. This was an emotional hit to our family, something we never saw coming. She has never ever showed any signs of aggression towards anybody, no children, no elderly people, no adults, no nothing. We relocated her. She's with my sister at the moment in Cedar Rapids. And while that was very abrupt for her, and I know she is facing a lot of anxiety from such an abrupt change, she has adapted very well. But still, that's not what she's used to. She's adapted very well. They take her on all kinds of walks, all kinds of adventures. She does perfectly fine. No growling, not a whole lot of barking, no nothing like that. I spoke with her veterinarian a few days after the incident, and I had asked if there was ever any aggression from her towards them, if that would be something that would be documented. They said yes. They printed out her entire veterinarian record for me. Nothing was documented, nothing. I spoke to her groomer as well, who she's seen since she came to me. Her name is Jenny Behrens. She wrote a very nice statement for Ember, and I would like to share some of that with you. She said, I am writing to address the temperament of Aubrey's dog, Ember. I have been a dog groomer for over 10 years, and I have been Ember's groomer since she was young. Not once has Ember showed any signs of aggression towards me while grooming her, other groomers in the shop, other animals being groomed, or anyone that has come in and out of the shop. Ember is 100% not a dangerous dog. She accidentally got out of the yard. However, she is not the first dog to do this. From my understanding, the man had grabbed Ember, which understandably scared her. She then turned and nipped, not to bite, to tell him to get away. If Ember wanted to bite, she would have left puncture wounds. She is a very strong dog and has the capability to cause serious damage. To my knowledge, the man did not require stitches or any serious medical care. After the man swatted at Ember, no one, and I mean no one, no exceptions, should be grabbing a dog they do not know. She goes on to give examples of other dogs that have bitten other people, other animals in Anamosa, those of which were allowed to stay in town. She says, in my professional opinion, Ember is not an aggressive or dangerous dog. She was afraid of a strange man trying to grab her and still did not cause serious harm. There were a plethora of other ways that this could have been handled at the time, but the route it went was absolutely not the way it should have. She does not deserve to lose her home over this incident. And I will finish up by saying that Ember is not a vicious or dangerous animal. She's my family, my heart and soul. I feel this declaration of her temperament is one that was wrong. I don't believe I'm asking a whole lot just to be able to bring Ember home and for this decision on her behalf to be reversed so that my house has the chance to be a home again. Thank you for your time and consideration on this matter.
Thank you, all. Worthing, do you have anything to add as far as what the officer has noted, and so council can?
Yes, sir.
Conclusion.
Eric Whirling, Police Chief. Officer Reed was the investigating officer on this incident. He was unable to be here tonight. So I reviewed the case and called and talked to him about it. This incident occurred on the 9th of May. In the afternoon, we got notified at about 1:45, and that was when the victim of the bite was at the hospital. As Aubrey stated, this happened outside of their home at 105 South Dubuque Street, which is right across from Wapsiana Park. The incident occurred on the street. The victim was walking, and in that section, there's not a sidewalk for them to walk on, so they were physically walking in the street. Based on our code for Anamosa, to be deemed a vicious animal, the definition in 56.01 is any animal that has bitten a person while running at large and the attack was unprovoked. According to the victim, they were on a walk. The dog broke their chain, came into the street, bit them on the left calf. They were seen for that injury. There was photos taken of that injury, which I had to get them off of Officer Reed's phone. The victim was wearing jeans at the time, and the bite was still strong enough to cause bleeding on the victim's leg. Beyond that, I just ask that the council recognize that our current definition would fit what happened in this incident. And if you have any questions about the incident, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I have a couple of questions because I'm looking at that definition of vicious animal. And I didn't see this information until this morning when I got the packet. I'm having a little bit of difficulty with the language of while running at large. My understanding that this particular dog had been properly chained, but the chain broke. So I'm not sure that I can stomach the idea that that's a running at large. That's different than someone whose dog is left a yard and is on the streets just running amok. This appears to me, and I've certainly not talked to our city attorney with regard to how the definition of running at large is defined. There's nothing in the code section that I can see, the city ordinances that define specifically what running at large is. The other issue that I have is, at least in listening to Aubrey's discussion, there was some mention that there had been maybe some grabbing or attempt to grab the dog. I'm a little confused as to whether that was as a result of the person having the dog on their leg, or if that's prior to the bite. But I do have some question as to whether or not it truly meets the definition of running at large.
I would submit that generally running at large means off of the owner's property, which in this case, the incident did occur physically in the street on Dubuque Street, which would by definition be off of their property. Based on what I spoke with Officer Reed, it's that after the dog came off of the property onto the street and bit the victim was trying to get the dog away to go to hold of it so it wouldn't continue to bite.
I guess my question is, running at large to me implies that
It had no
it's
home.
not being supervised. In other words, someone puts the dog out on a chain, goes inside and is not monitoring the dog in any way. In this instance, it's my understanding that the chain itself broke for whatever reason, but the person who was monitoring the dog was in the yard, and as soon as it became aware that there had been something going on in the street, that to me, running at large means unattended, but I'm just putting it out there as I do have concerns. I also have been on the record saying that when we do have an ordinance, that it does need to be followed, but I'm a little concerned with this particular incident. I can't necessarily get my head around running at large.
I would still stand behind being off of an owner's property being by definition at large. If the council moving forward wishes to amend, I think we do need a lot of work on a lot of our ordinances. I would agree with you there, Todd. But by definition, by my understanding of running at large, being off of the owner's property and unattended or uncontrolled would be by definition at large.
Do you have a copy of the medical report from the person going to the urgent care?
I do not. I did not see one. I have a picture of the person on the table while they were being treated and a picture of the wound. But I don't know if Officer Reed got a report. I would have to check.
Well, I've got a question about I'm looking at the chapter 56 definitions. Aggressive dog means a dog that has 2 verified incidents, not 1, but 2.
Thank you. That was another section, but that wasn't.
Yeah, 2 verified.
Yeah, so
And there's a different, you're right, it does say that. And there's 2 different definitions. Subsection 1 is an aggressive dog definition and subsection 2 is a vicious animal definition. So they separate them out and there's different definitions for the 2 of them. And what Officer Reed was going off of, and I agree with, is that under subsection 2, the definition of vicious animal, it's any animal that has bitten a person while running at large and the attack was unprovoked.
But
There's other pieces of
But
it.
that's that running at large again.
And I would also say under section 56.04, which we were provided, was the seizure, impoundment, and disposition. Subsection 1 of that talks about in the event that a dangerous, vicious, or aggressive animal is found at large. And unattended upon public property or public right of way. This animal was not unattended. It got off of a chain and it was quickly, in my estimation, it was quickly addressed. So I'm back to the running at large. I have an issue with the being at large.
And if that section is the one that I'm thinking of, that's dealing with us confiscating that animal.
Correct. But
In this instance, we wouldn't have needed to because there was someone responsible for the dog that immediately after the incident, they took control of the dog. So we wouldn't have to use that section.
But my point is that the language being used is running at large or found at large.
Mhm.
In this case, if I'm in my residence on Council Street and there is a dog that makes it from Breckenridge to my place, that to me is running at large. Because they're not associated with the property anywhere in my neighborhood. If they're associated with in front of my house, and it's my dog, and it's on the street and I'm there, I find it difficult to reach unattended and at large.
Yeah.
Those are and I'm not saying that your officer didn't need to use discretion. I'm saying I'm not satisfied with the definition or lack of definition of what running at large and found at large, all in the same city ordinance section 56 or ordinance 56 point whatever. So I get that it's a tough job. I just have not gotten, I'm not real convinced that I buy the at-large part of this.
And again, the definition that the PD operates under is that anything off of an owner's property would be at large, whether it's a foot, a block, a mile. If it's off their property, then it is at large. If we would like something different, the council would like something different, I would be happy to enforce that piece, but as it's written, that's the way I interpret it.
Also, anything, any other questions for Chief Wood or even Aubrey? You can bring her back up if questions now have been raised since her initial presentation.
The only other piece that I would like to leave with council before I sit down is that in Officer Reed's report, it was in the council packet that it was reported to him that Ember typically doesn't like males, and that may have been the reason for the attack. I've experienced this myself. My dog, when anybody that's female or a child comes into my home, she's totally fine with it. But when it's a male, she's skittish around them. So I've seen that. I get that piece. And the person that was bit in this incident was a larger stature male. So that may have been a piece of it. Specifically, she was talking about the background for this dog, which it's not falling on deaf ears. I get it. I adopted my dog. I don't know what happened to her before, but I assumed it was something negative because she didn't like any guy being around her. So I get that piece of it as well. But that was another piece that he noted in his report that I failed to mention.
But we don't have any medical reports. We just have
No, not
a
at this time.
picture of,
When he was getting treated and the wound on the leg.
So you have seen obviously the photo.
Yes, yes.
You give a brief description of what you interpret what you see.
It was probably the size of a $50. There was blood on the wound. It was not cleaned or washed, so I couldn't see if it was one puncture, several. I don't know anything about that, but it was on the, I'll say, lower left side of the calf.
So Chief, I got a question.
Yes. And it was on the outside of the left calf.
So the owner of the dog had her back turned, right?
According to the report, yes.
Who's to say this guy didn't kick at this dog and make it more aggressive?
The only report we have is from the victim, and he reported that it got off the leash, came running at him and bit him.
Just saying. How do you actually prove what happened?
Oh, we have to go on to the witness report, the victim's report.
And just so we're clear, you think the wound was the size on the outer left calf of about a $50, right?
Yeah, by my estimation, I would say that's probably about right.
So,
Because there's not, I have a picture, but I don't have like a ruler in the picture to say.
but my microphone is somewhere between the size of a quarter and 50 cents. So the wound that we're talking about was at least this big around,
Yes, based on what I can see, yes.
but it was not cleaned. It was not shown after the medical attention, right?
Correct. I only have before it was cleaned and treated.
Did the medical records suggest that there was any tearing or pulling or, I mean, I don't know a dog that could leave more. That's the size of this microphone without some sort of tearing, or that's got to be a pretty big dog.
But the victim was also wearing blue jeans at the time.
Sure, but that makes my point even more important. They're wearing blue jeans and they've got a wound the size of that or bigger. There would have to have been some sort of tearing, pulling, deep wound. We're talking about 1, 2, right?
I can't speak to that. I'm not a medical professional. All I can see is a wound that's got blood on it, and
But you can't tell how deep it is or how big it is. It's just something that bled. Is that correct?
yes, it looks like there may be at least one puncture and possibly 2 punctures and some bruisings and abrasions around it.
Were there any stitches?
Again, I don't have a copy of the medical report.
Do we know if the person who was bit had notification of today's hearing, other than public notice?
I don't know. I did not ask Officer Reed if he did that.
Okay, thank you.
The statement that the victim had. Why wasn't the statement part of our packet?
He did not take a written statement. He took it verbally. So there was nothing written down.
Is there any explanation why they waited to come back half an hour later?
I don't have that answer.
And why they didn't exchange information right then.
Right at the beginning.
Again, I don't have that answer. I'm not sure.
Was there anybody, did the victim indicate whether there was anybody else walking with him?
I don't believe there was. I think he was by himself.
Thank you.
But unfortunately, we don't know any of that because, or if there were any witnesses, because nothing was done right at that moment. It was all done half hour, 45 minutes to an hour later, correct?
The report?
Anything. I mean, yes, he went to the door, but he didn't come back until later on. So we don't know if there might have been some other witness to this incident who saw actually what happened because they walked on and didn't stick around.
The time we got called was after they had gone to receive medical treatment. So everything that had transpired before, we weren't around for.
Right.
We only got called once that person was getting medical treatment. So
The officer's information is only as good as the information
That he was getting, yeah.
it's. And to Officer Reed's knowledge and based on the conversation I had, the only witness to the incident was the victim themselves.
I don't suppose that the victim during their interview process gave any indication of what they felt should be done.
I don't believe Officer Reed asked that. And if he did, he didn't convey that to me and didn't note it in his report.
Ready to make a motion.
Well, before you make your motion, I'd like to make one comment.
Okay.
I know in past instances, what we've done is requested that the dog receive some training. And I believe maybe that if we're going to move towards rescinding the vicious dog, we should think about making that part of that. That's just my thought.
Just my 2 cents as the police chief. I find that to be problematic only because we have a city ordinance. It's written the way it's written. As the enforcement arm, we did what the ordinance required us to do based on the report that we'd gotten.
But the definition of a vicious dog is 2 instances, right?
The aggressive
That's
dog
aggressive.
is two. The vicious is simply any animal that has bitten a person while running at large and the attack was unprovoked. There's other pieces of it, but that's the piece of the section that
I
we're
also have
relying
a
on.
problem with that large definition.
Yeah.
And I am not trying to make the officer's jobs harder. I get that. But I think that that exposes exactly the problem that comes up with this type of ordinance all the time. Is what is the bright line rule on what an at-large designation is? And I'm not expecting that the police officer is the one that creates that definition. I understand that there's a working definition within the department. But I think that there probably needs to be some fine tuning of that particular definition. I would also say that it is for me, it is a very difficult decision because we have officers that need direction legitimately from this council. They need to be backed by our council when they make a decision. But I also think that we have a responsibility to create a better definition.
Well, and rereading this vicious animal, it does say, including that said animal has bitten more than one person during the animal's lifetime. That's not just one person, it's more than, meaning multiple.
So,
or
the technicality of that though, is that prior to that, there's an or. So it means the first piece or the second piece. The second piece is the piece that you're talking about.
See, this is the confusing part, that it kind of muddles it.
And I'm sure the city administrator would agree with me, how the law is written can sometimes cause issues. So for this one specifically, when there's an or, it's A happens or B happens. So B is the long list, and that's the piece that you're referring to.
Right.
The other piece that I have an issue with in that part of it is that they have to bite 2 people or 1 animal. And that piece doesn't make sense to me either, but that's why we relied on the first piece of the definition. It's a lot more simple and clear cut.
So we probably need to address this ordinance.
Correct.
I would say so.
So I'm going to make the motion that we reverse the action of the police officer in determining that this particular dog meets the definition of vicious animal, subject to any amendment, Rich, that you would like to add to it, but my primary purpose is to reverse that designation at this time.
Well, I just feel like we've kind of set the standard of doing, I know you're against it, of the training and having said training completed within 90 days. Is that a reasonable time?
I can't remember what we've done before.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it's
pretty
90.
sure that's how you've handled it before.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's 90 or 120 days.
I think it was 90.
So subject to 90 days.
And the only reason that I say that I'm against it per se is that there's nothing in the code that says that that's a remedy.
Well, it's not,
It's past practice though.
I guess I would concur with the chief on this, just because I'm hypothetically playing this out. We ran into this before. What would occur if they chose not to follow through with that? I mean, we have to make a decision tonight to affirm or reverse it. What happens in, let's say, 20 days, they decide we're not doing that. There is no code section that allows us to come back and hold them accountable then for not doing that second part that is not within the ordinance.
so there's not a way within the motion to say that if training's not completed within 90 days, then they have 3 days to remove the animal.
I remember right, that was a memo received from the city attorney in the last occurrence that training was stipulated. There was no way to hold the water. They could just say, yeah, fine, whatever.
What I fear that would run us into is everyone could plead their case agree to training, not do the training, and we would then be left with no recourse at that point. That is my concern as the police chief, because this specific instance, the reason that Officer Reed wanted to take it seriously is that happened right across from the pool. So it could just as easily have been a small child as it was a grown man. And again, when it fit the definition, I'm not saying that the definition is the best it could be. I concede that, but by our current definition and without recourse for a training piece that you're talking about, Rich, as the police chief, I feel that that's not the best way to proceed.
Well, and I just threw that out because we have done that at least twice, I think. Maybe 3 times. I can't remember how many.
And I do want to state too, I'm a dog owner. I've had my dog for 13 years. I love dogs. I don't get pleasure from coming and standing and having to do this type of incident because I get how pets are part of families, but something the council has discussed in several previous meetings for other things is we have our ordinances we need to follow. And this is one of them I think that we do.
We know if since we now have an appeal in front of us, if we are allowed to take the appeal under consideration and set a date 60 days from now to determine to make the determination as to vicious or not, subject to the putting the dog in some sort of training.
Subsection 5 says that if the council affirms the action, then the order shall immediately be served upon the person. And if it's not complied with within 3 days of that issuance, then we are authorized to go and seize that animal. So our current ordinance says that if we uphold it, they have 3 days to remove the animal. Otherwise, we come and seize it.
Yes, but under subsection 4, the hearing may be continued for good cause. So we've had the hearing, but we could continue it, and the good cause being production of records of obedience training or whatever, safety training. The council that we want to open. If the council is going to overturn the classification of dangerous, vicious, aggressive, I would suggest if it's going to be a vote that does that, you just do. Don't put stipulations in about training or other requirements or criteria to be met, because the pass fail of that, you know, who is going to be the one that says, I'm certified, I will sign off saying that the training and the animal now is deemed not vicious. Either overturn it or leave it as is.
I'll second Todd's motion.
Right, my understanding, Todd's motion is to overturn it without any stipulations.
Correct.
Dan, is that
Correct.
your interpretation for your second?
Yes.
There's the motion. Council, any further discussion?
I guess I just want to make a point to the public. This is not an easy choice. I don't want animals biting people. But this one doesn't quite toe the mark as far as
I agree.
Public comment. Please state your name and your address.
Sure.
And residence.
My name is Angie Vargas and I live out 1630 20th Street Northwest. I was gonna recite my mom's address. So Ember has been living with me since the incident happened, and I just want to give you guys some more background, like some just what we've done over the past 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So my daughter's sitting in the back here, so not aggressive towards kids. I pick her up from Cedar Valley Christian School daily and able to take Ember with me in the car. She'll get out of the car, come up as all the kids are being released, not an issue. I've been able to take her to PetSmart and walk her around. She picks out her own treats, not an issue. There's men, there's children, there's everyone. It's not been an issue. Able to take her to Morgan Creek Park on her daily walks in the Arboretum area, all the way to the playground. It's not been an issue. Just my husband runs with her every single day. It's not an issue. So as far as the classes go, we have looked at doing classes. That's more of like an obedience, I don't like when you bark out my window and stand on my couch thing. So it's something that we've looked at, happy to do it if that's like a condition of it. But it is something that's been discussed and probably beneficial. But not a vicious animal in the slightest. So just wanted to give you some more insight as to that. There has not been an issue with at all taking her in the public, and especially around children. We've gone to Beaver Park, the old McDonald's farm, where there were classes doing field trips and all the kids came up and petted her out once. So again, just not been an issue over the last 3 weeks. So
Thank you.
yeah.
My name's Kelly Barron's. Address is 908 Northland Court in Anamosa. I just kind of want to add to that. Ember has grown up with my daughter who's back here for forever, with kind of rolling on her, riding her, pulling her ears, pulling her tail. And it never, and I would never put any child in danger or around an animal that I thought was dangerous. Ember's been around my nieces, my nephews, children that I've babysat. We've taken her to dog parks where she interacts and runs, not aggressive in any form. And just, seeing the way she's been the last couple of weeks as well, getting out there, just getting more acclimated. She just doesn't, she's not a mean dog. I would never put my daughter in that situation if I felt in any sense that there would be severe repercussions. And I continue to allow my daughter to be around her. We go and visit her every single weekend because she should be home. But I just wanted to throw that in there as well. From the time that she came into the home, even given her background and what she came from and what she experienced, never around children. She's a sweet dog. She's
Final. Haley, would you please conduct a roll vote on the motion to overturn?
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Dave Smith,
Yes.
Dugan,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to overturn the designation of dangerous vicious dog to be removed. Carried unanimously. Aubrey. So Ember can come back into your home. With the council taking the route they did permits that, I would strongly encourage that you take all preventative measures to make sure to ensure something of this nature does not happen again or in future. Seven point five, discussion and possible action, selecting a contractor proceeding with the replacement of the retaining wall at the Lawrence Community Center. Gail Yoder, Parks and Recreation Director.
Kale Yoder, Parks and Recreation Director. a few things. There's three different bids in front of you. The first one from Hintz Landscaping. It is very comparable to Seifger's. Seifger's quote includes mulch in it, which is for $2,000 listed out in his quote. And sales tax will also be taken off of Seifger's quote. So those two are very comparable. Minger's quote is a little bit higher, but that is to completely rebuild. His quote to just using the current existing blocks to rebuild would have been very comparable to what it currently is with brand new blocks. So we went in that direction.
So didn't Minger give a bid that didn't include new blocks?
He did not, because it was going to be very comparable to this. Just
Well-
speaking to him.
That doesn't help.
You do not have a specific preference one way or the other, correct?
We do not, no. I will say that we budgeted about $10,000 for this project. So that's what we have. We have room in our current budget for any of these options.
And they both are local contractors that employ local.
Yes, all three are based in Anamosa.
Hintz is about $2,000 on the high end, $2,000 less than Seekers, which you're saying Mingers would be right there in line with that. One thing I don't see in Hintz is any type of mulch replacement.
Yes, that's what I mentioned at the first. So if we included mulch into Hintz's, it would be about that $2,000 that is included in Seifger's.
I
Yep.
thought I see.
Yep. Mingers has less mulch. That,
Okay,
so what
it's not
Minger,
much.
what Mingers is doing is they would take a whole row of blocks off of the top of it. So resulting in less mulch.
But if we assume that Hintz's cost for mulch, if he were to add mulch in, his bid at the high end would be roughly 8,500, and Seifger's bid currently is 8,560.
Yep.
And
Minger would be-
submit a separate.
No.
Okay.
Well, also you, obviously you can take whatever bid whatever bid the motion there contains. We made a decision earlier this evening because of a bid was lacking. Would ask that you take that under consideration on this. And I'm not saying that to advocate for anyone. Any of these three, I would have to believe are reputable, local, and would do a good job.
Well, let me ask you this, if, let's just say we took the Hintz bid for the mulch, is that something that your staff could do that would
We could, it would just be-
potentially reduce the cost a little bit?
Yep, and we could talk to all three of them about doing our own mulch. It would just be a separate expense.
Yeah, so you could take the 2,000 off of,
All of them?
well, two of them.
Yeah.
Take the mulch off, and then that would drop Seifers down to 65-60 and make it comparable to Hintz's.
And I will just put it out there, I will have to abstain from this particular vote. I had work done by one of the three so recently, so I think it's more appropriate for me to abstain.
Councilmember Weimer abstaining, I'm sure he's not. I'm feeling the liberty to make a motion either, so. All five council members, would one of you
Well, and Rod, I'm just gonna state, I know what you're saying about previously in the meeting, but I don't know that how you approached everybody on making bids, if the mulch was left off, or if that was even a discussion topic.
It was not a discussion topic.
So that kind of offsets that, so.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the Hints landscaping bid.
I'll second.
Motion by Rich, second by Dan. Further council discussion? Public comment? Haley, please.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
I have to abstain.
and Dan Smith.
Yes.
Motion to accept the bid from Hens Landscaping. Carried, 4 in favor, 1 abstaining. 7.6, discussion of possible.
Wait. 5 in
I'm
favor.
sorry, 5, yeah. Thanks for correcting my math. 7.6, discussion of possible action, selecting a contractor and proceeding with the installation of a catwalk at the wastewater plant. Steve Ignish, Public Utility Superintendent.
Steve Agnes, Utility Superintendent. Received 3 quotes. And recommending that we go with Climate Engineers to replace the catwalk. This will clear up a safety concern that we have in this building to make it safer to get out onto the platforms, to pull the pumps, pull the mixer that's in that building.
That's the old influence that is Steve.
Yes.
And how long has that been a necessary item to get fixed?
Long time.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, more than a couple months.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted the public to be aware.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Todd. Further council discussion?
How soon can they get at it?
They'll have to engineer it first. But all 3 companies will do the engineering. Then once they get the engineering done, they will build it and then bring it and install it. It could be a month, could be 2 months.
Okay.
So
But they feel the bids will unchanged.
they feel pretty comfortable, with the tariff talk. They didn't think they were going to get affected, but there might be just a little bit of fluctuation.
We talked about engineering something.
Correct, but it was just this is the engineering and fabrication and installation.
Part of the bid.
It's all 3. The only thing that might change just a little bit when I talked to them was the material costs.
Curb side, could you?
Yeah, just that part of it.
And Steve, once this is in, I know that we had the safety inspection. that
Yes.
flagged this. Once this is in, then will that result in another inspection to,
Yes. Yes, it will.
so it should make that safety inspection better.
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Comment? Haley?
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Motion to accept contract for catwalk areas. 7.7, review and approve contract with Martin Garner Architecture PC for phase 3 of the downtown revitalization project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion. Public comment? Haley?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Tukin. Yes.
Motion to approve contract carries. 8.0, city administrators report.
I'm trying to think. I believe I had to divert some, Steve. I divert my time to Steve. I thought there was something, but I don't have anything.
Okay, we didn't feel this needed to be an agenda item, so Jeremiah talked and we figured we just do it under his segment. We received a notice of violation for treatment technique violation at the water plant this last month. I'll give you a timeline and explanation of what happened here. So on 4/9, we received a new batch HMO at the water plant. 4/11, we started using the new HMO. Then on 4/17, we started to see the manganese in our daily testing starting to rise. By 4/24, we started to receive some odor complaints of like musty water, but everything was still testing within compliance. 4/27, we seen a spike again in the manganese. So I deemed it was time to shut the HMO off because we wasn't for sure if it was the HMO all of a sudden causing the problem. We didn't know. So we did not feed HMO from the 28th to the 30th, and that's what the violation is for, is because we did not feed the HMO during that time period. And that was a Sunday morning. I can't remember who was on call that weekend, but it was not me, but we had been in contact all weekend talking about the test results when we're doing the tests during rounds on the weekend. 28th, I notified DNR right away that we're having a problem with this and we're trying to investigate. We got in touch right away with the supplier to see what was going on. Come to the conclusion, we don't know if there was a little bit of change in their ingredients or what was causing it. So it was deemed necessary that we dump the HMO that we had. We completely cleaned the tanks all out. And then on 4/30, because we were starting to also get some more complaints of the musty smelling water, we started flushing dead end hydrants to try to get it out of the system. On May 1st, new HMO was delivered. And we started to feed it that day. And since then, we've had zero problems. Manganese has been in line. On the 9th, we had the last odor complaint. But like I said, we were flushing dead ends as soon as we realized what was going on. But I just wanted to let the council know that we did receive a violation. It will be posted in the paper. There will be a mailing going out this week to every connection that has an address in the system, part of the DNR requirements. So, and we still have not figured out, was it some old HMO that was left in the bottom of the tanks? Because when we made the order, we were also flushing hydrants in the time, and we got the tanks as low as we could, the 2 tanks that we store it in, and then we transfer it to a day tank. We don't know if it was just super concentrated in the bottom because the mixers don't mix 100%. It allows stuff to settle out in the bottom. And if we stirred that up and that's what caused it, or if it was something with the new HMO, the supplier doesn't know. He checked everything, made sure he had current product. There was no composition changes, so we don't know what happened, but it did happen.
Is there a financial penalty for the violation, or is it just a notification?
Just basically just a notification. And like I said, we have to put it in the paper. We have to do a mailing to all the customers in town. The water was 100% safe to drink. It just had a musty smell to it.
Thank you for the information.
Okay.
Steve, means you can't pin down what the bogey was in the equation. Are you increasing inspections or verifications just so you can, in a sense, keep a stronger finger on the pulse if it's gonna wiggle around on you?
I mean, we're doing the same testing that we did prior to. There's no really there's no way to test the HMO when we get it to make sure that it's the same concentrations. It's after the fact, after it's already been applied in the treatment process of the water. The only thing that we are going to change, it has been a couple of years since the tanks were completely drained and cleaned. So now we're going to do that and implement that in like January and February, when hopefully things are a little slower. We'll work through. What's that?
Would that be an annual process?
Yes, we'll do that annually in like January, February timeframe. And just one tank at a time, we'll get everything we can out of it. Do a quick clean before we receive the new chemical in, and then hopefully prevent that from happening.
Council and residents can be assured you've got your eyes all over this if you start to see.
Oh, yes.
Something.
Oh, yes.
spiking.
And, you know, notified the DNR, you know, first thing Monday morning. So that way they can't say that we, you know, hesitated or anything. I always keep them in the loop and as soon as we have an issue. But again, I want to reiterate, water was safe. It just had a musty smell. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
9.0 Mayor and Council's report. 9.1 Mayor's report. I do not have anything. 9.2 Council reports. 10.0 Public comment for items not on the agenda.
Well, I guess my concern is,
Please state your name.
oh, I'm sorry.
Address.
My name is Mark Hoyer. I live at 115 North Ford, right beside the bowling alley. Last couple of years ago, they took the lumberyard out, and I really didn't have any problem. But last 2 years, the deer have just been going crazy, eating my garden. I put fences up that really don't help. They got new spray. I tried that, tried about everything. All I'm asking is to get approval to put an electric fence just around my garden. It's in my backyard, back up against where the old lumberyard is. There's really nothing out back there but a cell phone tower. And I know the I have it right here. The ordinance says it is unlawful for a person to use barbed wire or electric fence to enclose land within city limits without a written consent of the council. So I'm basically asking consent from the council to put up, it's probably 15-20 foot by 30 foot garden, just to keep deer out. There's no kids around. I mean, there's hardly anybody that goes back there.
Okay. Mark, council cannot make a decision this evening, unfortunately, because it is not an action item.
Would it be able to be on the agenda for the next meeting, please?
Which will be June 10th. I'll ask the city administrator, would you take his question as an inquiry at this time to place on future meetings?
Yes, I will. Can you, would it be possible for you to get a hold of me or just call City Hall and get me your contact information? Or just talk to me afterwards?
I do, yeah. Sure enough.
I want to know the power that you're planning on putting on the electric
that?
fence. I want to know the power you're planning on putting on the electric
Just a
fence.
small solar.
The old fashioned, not one I can touch and jump
Not
back.
one yet. It's not the one, it's just a small solar one. I don't know, if you want to help your rock, I'll grab it. It's what it does.
Oh, I've been there for that.
Mark, prior, just inquire with your homeowner's insurance company that
Yeah,
they would permit that as well.
sure.
I just trying to eliminate any downstream issues that for the rise. If council permits. Not saying they will, because that's gotta come up for discussion.
Okay.
And your property is the one just to the north of the alley between the bowling.
Yes,
alley and-
yes. And that's getting sewer work supposedly. I had to sign off on all that too, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to say, whoever has this, the inmates that are working for them doing the downtown pods and stuff. I saw 3 of the guys working on Friday before the holiday. Saw another one today cleaning up after the holiday. I stopped specifically and told the 3 on Friday that I thought they were doing a good job. They were on task. They weren't messing around, and I do think that they're doing a nice job of keeping those nodes or pods, whatever we call them, clean, but I thought they deserve some recognition.
Good. I wondered who'd been.
I'd like to thank the guys for doing the sidewalk up there on Davis Street.
Yes.
Thanks for getting right on it and getting it done.
11.0 adjournment. This evening meeting is adjourned. Thanks everyone for coming out.
So Dan, are you telling me they already poured the concrete?